Hello, my name is Brandon Hairston. I'm a solutions engineering manager here at Smartsheet. Today, we're going to go through a brief overview of our admin center and then dive a little bit deeper into Safeguard, a premium capability that allows you to further enhance your security controls. For today's agenda, we're going to keep it simple. We'll start off with an overview of our admin center, briefly go through what familiarization and controls that you have access to today within it at a base layer. Then we'll walk through our Safeguard premium capabilities that include data egress, data retention, and event reporting. Before stepping into it, though, it's good to really acknowledge the experience of every sysadmin, no matter what type of software that you're dealing with. And that oftentimes comes up with trying to answer three different questions. The first is who has access to what? Without the right tools that are available to you, you don't know in terms of auditing what's going by sheet, or simply what's happening and whom is even accessing what things that they know. The second is usually what's actually happening. What are users doing across the environment? How is data moving in and out? What types of events are happening? How can you do this without having a fully dedicated log? And then lastly, how do you take action upon this? How do I clean this up and start to really prevent the asset sprawl problem that a lot of organizations, especially those that are mature and at an enterprise level, when it comes to having thousands of assets spread across the board? Today, between Admin Center and our Safeguard capabilities, we'll address how we answer all three of these questions and make a sysadmin's life a bit easier. Stepping into our Admin Center, think of this as your primary governance hub. This is where your one-stop shop is when it comes to managing your users, figuring different security settings, and controlling different features and capabilities that your users have access to, whether it's core functionality or more premium capabilities that are available. The first thing to orient yourself to is the security score. Your security activation score essentially lets you know how much of the controls that you have available to you are you taking advantage of. The lower the score usually means that you have less things set up. And what we usually tell sysadmins when they first want to familiarize themselves with the admin center and controls they have available is starting with the security activation score, walking through those prompts to then continue to set up different policies that you'll need in order to further enhance your control. Over on the left-hand side, you can also see not only some user summaries, but as I scroll down, also get some more insights across your plan in terms of assets that are widely being used and also premium capabilities that are here too. This allows you to get a quick snapshot of the licensed users you have, those who are not licensed, maybe guests or contributors or unlicensed admins and editors, what they have available to them, as well as the types of sheets, reports, and dashboards that are spread across your account. If you want to get a bit deeper, though, you can always download a sheet access report. And what this is an export of a line by line list of every Smartsheet object or asset, being a sheet report, a dashboard, who owns that object, and who those objects are shared out to, from owner and admin to editor and contributor to even external collaborators that you may bring in as well. Lastly, here, you can see that there are a variety of other security controls that we have available. Things from authentication, where you can go and set up your SSO provider, as well as multi-factor authentication. A variety of security controls, the ones that I like to call out more specifically being things like attachment controls, where you can go through and configure what document storage integrations you want to have enabled, and if people can upload and publish things directly from their computer into Smartsheet, as well as branding and personalization, whether it's a custom welcome screen, certain logos, colors, and other things that you want to make sure you're configuring your environment there too. That's a bit of the basic controls that you have available to you within your admin center. So as a sysadmin, what I highly recommend you do is go here, start with your security activation score, maybe dig into the attachment controls, especially when it comes to handling things like PII, financial documents. You'll want to better control and enforce how people are accessing that. This is an easy place to start. Now, outside of security score and other taking actions on the base layer, again, your admin center is the primary tool that you have when it comes to setting up governance. But now we need to further enhance those controls and start to better answer some of the questions that we were asking better, right, or earlier. And that's where we start to get into Safeguard capabilities. Safeguard has a lot of controls that further enhance your ability to secure your account. That includes data egress, ways that you're making sure that data is not leaving or how it leaves your environment. Data retention, how do you then split up your asset sprawl? And event reporting, how do you better audit the actions that are being taken across your account? Now, there are a lot of controls that you do have within data egress. Let's step into our admin center so you can briefly see how you go through and control that. This is where I go up into setting up governance controls. And you'll see access to these different policies. The first being, as we talked through, data egress. Data egress allows you to define what actions are restricted across your account. So as you saw, there are 6 different actions you can restrict: save as new, save as a template, publishing, exporting in any format, printing, and sending as an attachment. It's really easy to configure these. As you saw, I simply have to hit edit, and then I click the actions that these apply to, as well as the asset type that they apply to, whether it's sheets, reports, or dashboards. You can, as you see, make sure that it applies to multiple assets as you're doing so too. You can make sure and further exclude folks from those groups too. So if you need to make sure that certain groups are excluded from that, such as maybe you don't want engineering to be able to save as new, but marketing should be allowed to because they continue to make new templates, that's a group that you can simply select based off the group settings that you have in here. Lastly, you can go and enable multiple policies at once. So many can be active all at once. You can also toggle them on and off based off the needs that you have upcoming too. So that's a bit of data egress as we start to talk to it. It really helps you better controlling whom has access to what a little bit more, and also what are they allowed to do with that action too. There's also data retention controls. So data egress is more so handling the what action they're allowed to take. Data retention is more so around the asset sprawl. What are assets that should or shouldn't be here based off of the amount of time that's set up? Let's show you an example of how we go and control those. The policies are really easy to set up. The first thing you're doing is defining the conditions. So you want to see, is this going to affect assets that were created at a certain time, often more than a year ago or longer, as well as when they were last modified? So not only are you making sure that assets that are unused and stale for a long time are getting out there, but even newer assets that maybe have not been used in a long time due to a variety of purposes also don't stay in. From there, you're the one who goes and schedules the frequency as well as how long in advance owners of those assets get notified. Oftentimes, you see this is done monthly, but you can set this up to be as little as every 6 months to as frequently as every 5 days. As well as how far in advance you again let notify owners within 3 days or within 14 days or anywhere in between. And very similar to the data egress, you can make sure from an inclusion standpoint this time, the sheets that are owned by any of these particular groups will be paid attention most. So again, if you know that there are groups or teams within your environment that are constantly creating new sheets, archiving them, deleting them, those are groups that you can make sure are included here, especially for use cases like testing or other things that are happening too. You make sure then it's ready to go, you can save and turn on, and as you can see, you can go through and impact that whenever you'd like. Last piece from a governance control that's part of Safeguard is probably the most straightforward one, which is safe sharing. This allows you to go through and see a particular list of external domains that are allowed for you to share to. So especially if you are working with PII, financial documents, any sensitive information you really need to control isn't going to be sent out anywhere. In conjunction with things like the attachment controls you saw, safe sharing also make sure that these are not going out to anyone that is particularly sensitive, especially for competitors or any other groups. You need to make sure that that confidentiality is enforced. So now you've seen a bit of data retention controls. You can set org-wide policies, of course. You make sure that it's on a schedule that you see. And of course, you can see impacted assets automatically generated and notifications sent out to those end users too for you. So you're not having to go through and configure all of these administrative burdens on your own. Lastly, let's talk through event reporting. Event reporting is not necessarily just a dashboard you log into. It's a structured data stream of every meaningful action that's occurring within your Smartsheet environment that's continuously generated via the API that becomes available to you when you purchase Safeguard or the event reporting access to. We are going to have Christian Anderson, one of our senior security engineers, walk through a brief demonstration of event reporting and break down the different things that you see within the feed. And we'll talk through other ways that you can start to utilize that.
Types contained within the Smartsheet event reporting. You'll see here on my screen, our SIM is Google Chronicle. Your view will vary depending on the vendor that you have. But what we see here is a bunch of events. We see the actor performing the event, the type of event, in this case, as mentioned before, access token type events, and then the action, whether it's a refresh, authorization, there's even revocations within this event type. On the right-hand side of the screen here, what you'll also see is the raw JSON that is received by our SIM, which contains all the details that you might want. On the next tab, we're going to just briefly go over authentication type events. Again, what we'll see here is the actor and then the type of event. So the logins and the logouts. In addition, the raw JSON, we see source IP address for some of the events. As long as your SIM can parse these details, then you'll be able to present or search on them. The third tab, what we have are sheet type events. Again, we have the actor and then the actual action. So sheet updates, sheet loads, creations, and adding shares, removing shares. So again, those are just 3 types of events that are contained within the Smartsheet event reporting.
Excellent. Thank you, Christian. As he was highlighting, as you saw, there's a lot of different event types that you can start to parse. And as you can see, the feed does have a lot of insightful information that allows you to audit what's happening and then be able to monitor and take action on what's going on too. There are over 100 different event types that you can start to pull. They generally fall into 4 categories of object events, user and access events, sharing and export events, and API token events as well. Putting it all together, Smartsheet Safeguard allows you to really have more of that advanced protection, coupling it in with the Smartsheet Admin Center. Breaking it all down, the Admin Center is your main hub where you'll access everything and it's where your governance starts. Central visibility into your users, assets, and controls from a security standpoint. Where Safeguard then comes in is layering it on top of that. Event reporting becomes more of your audit layer. It starts to answer that question of what specifically happened by feeding you structured and timestamp logs for your visibility and for incident response. Data egress is then your prevention layer. This answers the question of what cannot happen. Restrict the specific actions that would have more sensitive data, leaving Smartsheet through an unauthorized means. And then lastly, data retention, your cleanup layer. This answers the question of what shouldn't still be here. So you have automated archival of any stagnant assets or content that's out there without the need to start to manually intervene for that. And then naturally, that is safe sharing. Just the boundaries layer. Whom do you make sure that outside your organization is not receiving this data? Thank you for the time today. If you do have any questions or would like to further inquire around the Admin Center or other Safeguard capabilities, reach out to your Smartsheet account executive or your account manager. They can help point you towards some very useful resources, including other videos or articles. However, if you're looking to explore Safeguard specifically more, we can loop in other resources that can help delve into those capabilities a bit more for you. Thank you, and appreciate the time that we spent here today.